Are Nickelodeon one of the most creative children's networks there is? At least it used to. Yeah, if you haven't been living under a rock, you'd know that Nickelodeon in the last decade has completely gone down the gutter with just terrible decisions, terrible management, and just terrible shows altogether. Whilst networks like Cartoon Network and Disney have been giving us fresh original shows with great characters and stories that break new grounds and push the medium to new heights, Nick has effectively been left in the dust. They just have. And it's sad. It's really sad that Nickelodeon went from quality shows like Ren and Stimpy, Pete and Pete, Rocko's Modern Life, Hey Arnold, Drake and Josh, and Avatar to this.
Now we dance. We dance.
Is this the time for the bathroom? Because I really gotta go.
Now I need pop.
Ugh. And today we're counting down these blunders in the top 10 worst Nickelodeon shows. Number 20. Mr. Meaty. Being one of Nickelodeon's only efforts into puppetry for older kids, this one turned out to be not very good. I guess I should point out the obvious first. The puppet designs are ugly. They just are. They're not the most ugly things in the world, but they're just not good to look at. But how about the writing? It's got to be good, right? No, it's not good. Yeah, the stories are just not that good, and that'll be fine if the show was funny, but in the majority of cases, it's not really that funny. But it can have, like, a handful of jokes that are actually pretty damn funny. And, well, yeah, that's pretty much it. If it weren't for the ugly puppet designs, this show just would have been forgotten because there's really not much to this show at all, which is why it's number 20 on the list. Number 19. Big Time Rush. So a creator of Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide created a show about a boy band, and this was likely made just to cash in on the success of Hannah Montana and Camp Rock, and it shows. The show is not very good. The writing can get a bit obnoxious at times, and the jokes, well, like Mr. Meaty, most of them don't land, but there are some pretty damn funny moments in there. But yeah, this show is just it just has this boy band gimmick that honestly just makes it just a little bit lower than Mr. Meaty, but I'd say for the most part they're about the same in quality. They're not the worst shows, but they're not that good either. Number 18. Cousins for Life. A generic sitcom about an African American family. Stock characters, stock music, stock plots, just everything about the show is just forgettable. It really is. But it's not obnoxious, and for the most part, it's harmless. So, yeah, that's why it's mostly on the number 18 spot. Number 17. Roundhouse. This is basically You Can't Do That on Television and all that, but done way, way wrong. There's just too many characters, and not any of them are memorable, and the skits and the jokes just happen too quick, making it feel really obnoxious. But that is just really it. That's really it about this show. It's nothing. The show is really nothing. Aside from all those things, it's just nothing. It's still bad, but it's not like the worst thing in the world. So yeah, that's Roundhouse. Number 16. Tough Puppy. This is Butch Hartman doing a spy show and not adding much to it. The jokes are just not good. They just fall really flat. The plots are just really stock, and that'll be fine if it was funny, but like I said, the jokes fall really flat. Most of them. And Dudley is just a really annoying character. Not the most annoying character, but he's still annoying, and a lot of his jokes involve him talking about his butt or shouting. So yeah, that's Tough Puppy. It's not good. Number 15, Cat Dog. Oh boy, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I think Cat Dog is a bad show. I just do. I just find it to be not a very good show. I find Cat and Dog to be pretty boring and sometimes annoying characters. The show is not funny, like at all. It's very slow paced, and it can get very mean spirited at times, but at the most, it's just boring. Nothing is interesting. It's just not a very interesting show. Aside from the premise in that it's about a cat and a dog in one body, the show is just not memorable in the least. Though the theme song slaps. Number 14, Tak and the Power of Juju. Based on the Tak and the Power of Juju video games comes a bland generic TV show with generic characters, generic plots, and bad animation. That's just it. That's just it. Number 13, Robot and Monster. It's another show about two buddies going on crazy adventures, but it's just not very good. It's done in one of the most boring generic ways possible, and Monster is just annoying. Not Dudley annoying, but still annoying. Number 12, Fanboy and Chum Chum. I talked about the show in a video I did a while back, but the short of it is that the show just does not have a point to it at all. It's just a bunch of annoying kids doing a bunch of random things to little to no cohesion. The plots are bad and generic, like they barely even use the superhero aspect. Most of the humour falls completely flat, and the main characters? Oh lord, are the main characters obnoxious. Like, really, really obnoxious. If your main characters are annoying, then 99% of the time, the show will be annoying. Though I will say that some of the side characters are kind of enjoyable. The stylized CGI can work to good effect, and the show can have some funny moments to it, but yeah, that's about it. It's really bad. Number 11, Sanjay and Craig. Another show about two buddies going on wacky adventures, and like the others, it has two characters that are barely distinguishable from one another, poor plotting, bad attempts of humour, and this show has gross out. Lots and lots of gross out. Yeah, there's a reason nobody talks about the show positively. It's just so bad. Number 10, Breadwinners. Yet again, another show about two buddies going on crazy wacky adventures, and yet again, there's very little difference between the main characters. And the characters shout and scream, there's gross out, and they like to shake their butts in every episode. Oh, and the animation is bad. Like, I'm never going for a style, but it just does not look good. It's just overall a very poorly made show. Number 9, Planet Sheen. Whose bright idea was it to give Sheen a spin-off? Putting the comic relief character in the main role never works, and this is probably the worst example of this. Sheen is way more obnoxious and annoying than he was in the original Jimmy Neutron. At least in the original Jimmy Neutron, his presence was never overbearing. He was never in like every scene, and his comedic moments were actually genuinely funny. Here, he's just annoying. He just says a bunch of random things every now and then, and he just never shuts up. Ugh, the other characters don't fare much better. I mean, one of them is a complete clone of Carl. Yeah, a complete clone of Carl. Why do this? Just why? Why? What was the point in this? Though I will say that some of the jokes in this show are actually genuinely funny. But that doesn't excuse 80% of the other jokes being just painful attempts at comedy. Yeah, this show just... why? Ugh, let's move on. Number 8, Cousin Skeeter. Skater's just an annoying character through and through who just screws things up and makes things worse. Like having a character that just is annoying and just makes things worse every single episode is just frustrating. And the other characters are just bland. They're just so bland. There's nothing redeemable about this show. Let's move on. Number 7. Bucket and Skinner's Epic Adventures. Yeah, more like Bucket and Skinner's epic fail. This show is an absolute fail in writing, comedy, and just everything. This is just a thoroughly awful show through and through. The main characters are just absolutely obnoxious stereotypes. The jokes pretty much suck, and yeah, it's just bad. It's really bad. And it gets worse from here. Number 6. Fairly Odd Parents Seasons 9 to 10. This show is tragic, just really tragic. It started off so good and was one of Nick's best shows, but it ended off as being one of Nick's worst shows. The latest seasons of the show are basically the complete opposite of the earlier seasons. The comedy is utterly abysmal, some of the worst I've ever seen. The characters have been completely flanderized, and they pretty much gave up on the rules of the show. Like Mr. Crocker, who was a threat to the show, trying to catch Timmy's fairies, pretty much sees them in plain sight in almost every episode. Yeah, it's that bad. It's just, wow, this show is just really bad. It just got, just, it's not even on the same level as spans of season 6 for 8, because as bad as those seasons are, they're nothing compared to this. Wow. Number 5. Bunsen is a beast. Ugh, this is Butch Hartman's worst show. The voice acting is just awful. The characters are stock and annoying, and the jokes are painfully unfunny. Ugh. Next. Number 4. Marvin. Being the second Nickelodeon shows that stars Lucas Cruikshank is a painful experience. Oh, the special effects are just absolutely horrendous. Even on a TV budget, they just look, it's just, wow, it's just bad, really bad. The jokes are full of bad, gross out sass alien jokes that are stupid. The plots are stupid, and Lucas's acting is just awful and annoying. It's just so obnoxious. Though I will say that some of the characters are actually pretty funny, like the grandpa and the jock character, but that's really it. And it's just so obnoxious that, I mean, those things are definitely what pulls this a bit better than some of the other shows down the list, but it's still bad. Number 3. The Adventures of Kid Danger. Being a spin-off of Henry Danger, this show is atrocious and way worse than the live-action show that it span off from. Because at least the live-action show can actually have some funny moments. This show's funny moments are just not funny. The show is completely unfunny through and through. The animation is just so freaking cheap, bad, and lazy, and the plots and the humor are just miserable. This is just a miserable show to sit through. Number 2. Young Dylan. Wow. Just wow. This show is just... how the hell was this even approved? Just how? The plot completely rips off Prince of Bel-Air. The main characters are completely unlikable. The acting is just absolutely, utterly atrocious. And the laugh track? Good lord, does this show abuse the laugh track to levels that will make Dan Schneider blush. There's a laugh track every time someone says a line, and even when they say something that isn't trying to be funny, there's a laugh track. Oh, and the humor is a complete miss. Nothing in this show made me laugh. This show is just one of the worst. And finally, number 1, Fred the Show. Yeah, it's a no-brainer this is number 1, because this show is just absolutely miserable from beginning to end. It really is. The network took a popular YouTuber who wasn't funny to begin with, made 3 awful movies out of it, and the show. Just why do this? The way it's filmed and shot just looks so unprofessional. The jokes are horrible and cringy. The pacing is terrible. The acting is terrible. The plots are terrible. It's the definition of unwatchable. And not in a so bad it's good kind of way like out of Jimmy's head. It's just, no. Avoid this at all costs. Just avoid it. You know, it's really sad to see how bad Nick has fallen in the last decade. For making some of the most creative, innovative shows seen on children's television, like Clarissa Explains It All, Ren and Stimpy, Rugrats, Pete and Pete, Drake and Josh and Avatar, to stuff like Fred, Kid Danger, Young Dylan, what have you. It's just sad. Though there is hope that Nick could improve with the Netflix deal and some creative new shows on the horizon, it does show that there is some light at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully that happens. Well, that's the end of the video. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe. Goodbye.